Be afraid. Be very afraid. It seems we missed the forest for the trees. There are lots of problems in the world, all claiming to be the most important, desperate, gotta do something now problems, and they all may have a good case. Take this or that action and start saving the world. We are overwhelmed and most of us tune out. Change the channel to something else, quick. If we do take time to think on it, most of us play the blame game. It's all because of those damn so-and-sos over there. They caused it. Let's pass a law, or go to war and kill the bastards. Problem solved. Then we move on to something more fun, like going out and getting laid, or watching the game, or American Idol. So what's my point? Same old end-of-the-world stuff you've heard before. I want to point out a couple of facts we seem to have missed, and if you happen to hear me out, all I hope you will do is talk about it. I think we must bypass the normal channel of leaders and go straight to we the people. We don't have time to wait until the old guard dies off. By then, we'll all be dead, or wish that we were. What's going to happen? World famine, followed by world war, followed by complete breakdown of civilization, and just possibly followed by extinction. Here's why. Point 1. Population always rises to meet food supply. Law of nature. Widely overlooked by everybody talking about overpopulation. People who should know better. It is true of insects. It is true for humans. No living thing violates this law. Point 2. The planet we live on is a finite system. It is only as big as it is, and we have nowhere else to go. Constant growth cannot go on forever. There are very real limits on how many people can be alive at the same time. The most important factor right now is the food supply. Point 3. The food supply is on very shaky footing. Crop yields are very high, and most of the land that can be used to grow food is already in use. High productivity is prone to dramatic failure for several reasons. I'll come back to this. Point 4. We don't have a respectable food reserve. Something like 75 days or so. Modern economic forces dictate supply and price. That's fine for luxuries like cars and boats. Insane for world food. To survive a few years of poor harvests, we must have a much larger backup food reserve. Point 5. Human population is growing. It's still growing, despite warnings like this one going back hundreds of years. In fact, the growth rate tripled in the 1900s, from doubling every 120 years to doubling every 40 years or so. We are aware, we have tried solutions, and yet we are adding to the numbers of souls at about 100 million every year. That's like a third of the current U.S. population, or 4 cities the size of Mumbai, India, every year. Point 6. Worldwide famine starts with a drop in the food supply, or leveling off of productivity gains because population growth requires more and more food. Good farmland is shrinking, not growing. Just a matter of time before we run up against a hard limit on food production. Yields drop with the change in the weather. Not enough rain, too much rain, rain at the wrong time. Widespread use of monoculture sets the stage for a single new disease or insect to wipe out much of the world's rice, wheat, or corn. Desertification caused by deforestation, overfarming, overgrazing, and drought means less land in production. We are running out of water by using it faster than it comes back. Much of the land now in use is abandoned as the wells go dry. We're running out of cheap oil. We still have oil, but it's getting harder to get and thus more expensive. Point 7. The sky fills with ash and dust when volcanoes erupt. Less often, but always a threat when asteroids strike. That's what killed off the dinos. Or, and I really hope this doesn't happen, a nuclear war. Unfortunately, it's quite possible, even likely, given how many countries have these weapons. Result is less sunshine, which lowers crop yields. It is just a matter of time. Volcanoes erupt, and when they do, the sky gets dark, sometimes for years. Point 8. For the most part, we humans are in denial that there even is a problem. We don't want to think about it. We have more important things to deal with, like making money, raising a family, or playing games. Some of us aren't very good at math and so don't understand the implications of exponential growth. Most of us, actually. We have lots of room for more people. In first world countries, at least, we see no sign whatsoever of food shortages locally. We like to imagine that our leaders are looking out for us and it's up to them to fix the problems. Lots of people place their trust in a higher power. Some of us place our trust in science to come up with a fix. Point 9. We keep fixing the problem. That's right, we fix it. People are starving. Oh my God, send them some food, now. Running low on food? Anticipate the need to feed millions and millions more? Well, let's crank up the science and increase the food supply. We do this over and over. We make fertilizer with oil. We make better varieties of wheat, rice, and corn. What's wrong with that? See point 1. Population always rises to meet food supply. Feed a famine, come back in a few years and find even more people starving. Go figure. Point 10. We have the solution but refuse to use it. We need education about the consequences of having more children than we could ever hope to feed, and the means to avoid getting pregnant. We need family planning and birth control people can use at a price they can afford. The vaccination of children and other medical services provided to people must be accompanied by birth control. Not optional anymore. Folks who disagree must be persuaded to change or get out of the business. Point 11. Hunger activists tell us there is enough food for everybody. The cause of hunger is waste, an unequal or unfair distribution. This is a dangerous half-truth. If we eliminate the waste, we can buy time and feed maybe another billion people, which puts us right back to where we started in just 10 years. By then the population will be 8 billion. Yes, we must put a stop to using food as a weapon and end the waste, but that does not improve the future. It makes it worse. Less people die, so more people are available to reproduce. Point 12. The deserts are growing. Land overuse and misuse, like clearing forests for farming, is a big factor. Soil is dying and blowing and washing away. The Sahara is advancing about 30 miles a year to the south. Spain is becoming a desert. As the land dies, the people who lived on it must migrate or starve. They are coming to where the food is, which makes a mockery of national borders. First world countries are being overrun with refugees. Point 13. Megacities are giant death traps. Infrastructure cannot keep up, and when it fails, all hell is going to break loose. If you live in one, you should get out while you still can. When the people who grow your food don't have enough for themselves, they will quit bringing it to you. Of course, leaving just isn't a viable option for most city dwellers. Where could they go? The good land is taken. Survival requires awareness and action. The runaway population growth is just the most pressing issue, but hardly the only one. I don't know how to fix all the problems. They will have to be solved a step at a time. But none of our problems will be solved by a larger population. All of our problems are only magnified by more mouths to feed. Point 14. Modern medicine and sanitation are part of the problem. Eliminating disease and lowering infant mortality led to the mess we're in, along with turning oil into food. In the past, having a lot of kids made some sense because many children died quite young. Not so now. We could make birth control available pretty much everywhere we provide vaccinations for children without much difficulty. We must rethink our morality and realize the old morals don't apply on today's overpopulated planet. The right of individuals to procreate can no longer supersede the rights of the human race to live free of starvation. The stakes are too high. It would be far better for individuals to choose less kids on their own than have this forced on them by panicked governments or Mother Nature. Point 15. The oceans are dying too. Too many reasons to go into here, but most have to do with human activity. While most of our food comes from the land, the oceans matter a great deal. For one thing, about half of our oxygen comes from the ocean. If the oceans die, we die with them. Famine has been with us since the dawn of time. It's actually a natural cycle that repeats over and over. Good conditions like rain and fertile soil provide lots of food and population grows quickly. Sexual maturity comes earlier and body weights rise. Fertility goes up and population grows exponentially. Soil gets damaged by overuse. Rains fail from time to time, and when they do, the population starves. After the die-off, the land has a chance to recover and rains return. The cycle begins anew. Quite often, the death toll is massive, claiming major fractions of the population. The sheer numbers are staggering. One has to wonder why people go on like this. One reason is the biological imperative. which is to have sex and make babies. That's what we're here for, to reproduce and spread our genes through the ages. Genes are running the show. They don't care, in fact can't care, about the suffering of the individual gene carriers. They just divide and multiply and move on through time. Another reason is we just don't seem to care much about the long-term future. We are much too involved with the immediate present. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. We don't do that. Nature is unforgiving in the extreme, and the future of any individual species is bleak. 99% of all species that have ever lived are now extinct. They failed to make the cut. Some of them have left us a fossil message in the layers of rock. We were here once, and we'll be seeing you soon. The main difference between past famines and future ones is our technology. Past famines were local affairs, but things are different now. Food is shipped places that cannot grow enough locally. We have whole nations totally dependent on imports. Our world has a lot more people, and we have the weapons at hand to kill everybody. That's new. Think nuclear winter. When people run out of food, other people start to look like unwanted competition for the small amount of food left, which can lead to genocide, as in Rwanda and Cambodia. Another thing people start to look like is a source of food. A return to cannibalism is not unusual. This is well documented if you care to look it up. Try the Donner Party for a good place to start. Things are not at all hopeless, please don't get me wrong. If I believed they were, I wouldn't bother to make this video. Logical thinking is doing the same things over and over and always expecting a different result. In life and death situations, this amounts to insanity. Logic and reasoning are useless without facts. We are in deep trouble. We need to face facts and act accordingly. Let's stop having babies so we can have a future. Let's not wait for famine and war to curb the population. That won't be any fun at all. Just ask any Somalian. Get the message out and into the minds of the people who count, the fertile women and the men who get them pregnant. Get the truth into the minds of the people in power, the religious teachers, the political leaders, and the owners of the big corporations. Point out to them that without some self-control, we are all going to die horribly, and all the money and power in the world will be useless and gone. They will die with us. We are all in this together. We can, of course, keep on doing what we've been doing, and the problem will take care of itself. That's right, we don't have to change a thing. Another law of nature is that overpopulation is self-correcting. Explosive growth is always followed by abrupt crash. We are no more exempt from this law than the first. When we go the way of the dodo, passenger pigeons, and dinos, the earth will heal and never miss us. The universe doesn't care. I do care, and so I believe should you. Spread the word. Ideas do get around, and who knows, we might just realize we need to hit the brakes before we fly off the overpopulation cliff. If not, c'est la vie. It's been a nice ride while it lasted. To cover my ass, I'll admit I could be totally wrong, at least in the short run. Until the fundamentalists wipe out science, we have hope scientists will find a way to feed more of us. We could double from 7 to 14 to 28 to 56 to 112 to 224 billion in the next 200 years. We don't have a choice about population growth stopping. It will stop. We do have a choice about when and how it stops. And for those of you who say, I heard this crap back in the 70s and nothing happened, the world is still ticking along just fine. Where is this catastrophe you're talking about anyway? I have this question. Just what qualifies as a catastrophe? Something like 1 billion people in this world are hungry today. 1 out of 7 people seriously short of food. Right now, thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of people are dying of starvation every day in the Horn of Africa. I'm pretty sure from their point of view, it is the end of the world. But please don't take my word for it. Buy a plane ticket and go see for yourself. Then have a look at some of the data. How much water and oil is left in the ground? How many trees do we have left to cut, etc.? Get some facts, and not just from Fox News. If you want a better picture, listen to the BBC and NPR for a while. Read the book Collapse by Jared Diamond. Watch Al Jazeera, and think. And then take some advice from my favorite redneck, Larry the Cable Guy, and get her done.